कौन सा वाला है सर? कौन सा वाला?
ये है ऊपर ऊपर एकदम, ये हाँ ये स्ट्रीम हो रहा है ना। एक बार स्टूडेंट का रिस्पॉन्स देखना दीजिए मुझे।
स्टार्ट हो गया, लिंक शेयर कर दीजिए अभी।
कर दिया लिंक शेयर।
ठीक है, अभी
एक मिनट आना, नहीं ठीक है। Okay, guys, I hope I am audible. So sorry for the delay, some technical error has occurred. So today we'll be seeing hormones of thyroid gland and their function and regulation. Before proceeding that, just we will see what are hormones, to which hormones are made up of which components. Either they are protein, peptide, or steroids. What are they, or how they function, how they go to the, how where they release, how they function, their action. Everything we will learn in today's lecture. Okay. So just let me know whether you are audible me or not. Just text me whether I am audible or not, please. Then I'll start. Please let me know whether I am audible. Anyone just respond to the text. Just you are audible. Please, someone respond to the text. Okay, anyhow, I'm not getting any response from you, but I'll start the lecture because you're already audible, right? Okay, I got the response. You're audible. Okay, ठीक है. So let's start. So what are endocrines? What are endocrines? So endocrines are they are the systems that include all the organs and the tissue that produce hormones. So okay, a bit definition endocrine. So before proceeding that, just there is three term: endocrine, autocrine, and paracrine. Okay, so endocrine are the hormones. They are synthesized from an organ, and it comes to the bloodstream, and it travels through the bloodstream and goes to the target organ, and their action to the target organ on the particular area. It may be multiple or it may be a single, it depends. That are called endocrines. So what are endocrines? They are, it will travel, the hormone synthesized from the endocrine organ, then it will go through bloodstream. Very important is that it will travel through the bloodstream, and then it will travel to the target organ. What are autocrines? Autocrines are the hormones. They secrete from the cell, and their action onto the same cell. Okay, understood? It will act on the same cell. Whereas paracrine, this synthesized from the cell, and it will not act on the same cell, but either not act on the same cell, or nor it will travel through a bloodstream. It will act on the adjacent cells. Okay, so these are the three important terms you must know. What are endocrines, autocrine, and paracrine? Okay, so endocrines, they are the glands. They are the specialized glands which secrete hormones. As you can see, The hypothalamus is there, pituitary glands are there, parathyroid, thyroid. They are the glands which can secrete hormone. And also organ like liver, they secrete hormones in addition to the other function. They have last class we learned about the liver function test. So liver has a multiple function. Along with that, all multiple function, it has a role in hormone synthesis also in endocrine system. So let's come to the word hormone. Hormone, what are the hormones? They are the chemical messenger that initiate biological response by binding with high affinity to the target cell receptor. So basically, these are the messenger. It has a message. It has for any function of any organ or any tissue. So it what hormone does, it will go to the target organ. It will send some message, and according to that message, the cell will respond. Cell will act. The cell will behave. The target organ will behave like that according to the message, what the message is. So hormone, so different hormone has a different message, and let's see how what are the different types, different groups of the hormones. So hormones, it made of peptides. Okay, for example, is insulin. Insulin, it is protein also we can say, but it generally the active form is the peptide, and it can be a protein or amino acid derivatives or lipid derivatives. Lipid derivative means those hormones which are made of steroid hormones or some arachidonic acid or cholesterol. So these are, if the hormones are made of this, so they are called lipid derivatives, right? Why it is important lipid derivative? Because the cells in our body, the cell membrane is made up of lipid. Okay, so if it is the cell in our body is made of lipid, and if it is a lipid, so it is easy for any hormone to pass. If it is a hormone is also made up of lipid, and the cell membrane is also made of lipid, so lipid, it can easily diffuse to the lipid and easily pass. It doesn't need any receptor there. Okay, so, but if it is a any protein or any peptide which is water soluble, it's not a lipid soluble. It cannot enter to the cell because the cell membrane is made of lipid, right? So for traveling, the message should be travel. It need a certain transporter or certain receptor, not transporter. Transporter actually lipid. It requires transporter. Lipid can be go through by diffusion or through a transporter. But the amino acids, they need a receptor if in the membrane, on the membrane itself. Okay, so this is a peptides and protein. Peptides and protein basically made up of glycoproteins. Examples are growth hormones, insulin, and whereas amino acid derivatives, these are the most examples are thyroid hormones and catecholamines. And the third is the steroids hormone. So these are the steroids hormone you can see. So this is the three types of hormones we have. So, and these three type of hormones have function. Their kinetics in our body may differ. Okay. So hormones are classified, categorized lipophilic or hydrophilic, as we discussed. So lipophilic, that means fat soluble. So what are the hormones? They are lipophilic. They are steroids hormone and thyroid hormone. So if they are lipophilic, so where it will act, it will. So this steroid hormone, if because it is a lipophilic, it can easily diffuse to the cell membrane. So either this hormone, they have a receptor in the cytoplasm or into the nucleus. Okay, so steroid hormone generally they have a receptor to the cytoplasm, whereas thyroid hormone they have in the nucleus. Okay, whereas hydrophilic, it cannot cross the cell membrane, So if it is not cross the cell membrane, the all hormones they bind extracellularly. That means the receptor is present extracellular beyond the cell. Okay, and what happens when these hormones, for example, I'm taking for hydrophilic hormones, if it binds on the cell membrane, so the hormone function will stop there. So what it will do, it bind to the receptor, it do some conformational change, and there is a generation of second messenger. Okay, so what are the second messenger? Second messenger can be calcium, second messenger can be a cyclic AMP, a second messenger can be cyclic GMP. These are the second messenger. That means what are the first messenger? First messenger are hormone itself. So hormone when it bind to the receptor, it will for I am talking about hydrophilic hormone which bind to the receptor, uh, and then it will generate a uh, uh, second receptor. So okay, second messenger. Sorry, second messenger, which is calcium, cyclic AMP and cyclic GMP. Then they have this will further do their function, and the role in the action will depend upon which receptor is activated, which secondary messenger is activated. Okay. So let's see about the thyroid hormones. These are lipophilic hormones and steroids hormone. So these are the structure which has a cortisol, testosterone, and thyroxine. Thyroxine, this is a T4 structure because of there is 4 iodine is attached to the thyroxine. Okay. So lipophilic hormones, these are the hormones circulate in the blood which is bound to the transport protein. Okay, and dissociate from the carrier at the target cell. Generally, these hormones are they need a carrier. They need a bind with they bound with some transporter or some. Generally, they bind with albumin or maybe some other component. So they bond with that so that they can easily travel to the bloodstream. Okay, and when it reaches to the target organ, from which it has a bond to, it will dissociate from that carrier, and it will act on the receptor and pass through the cell membrane and bind to the intracellular receptor either in the cytoplasm or in the nucleus. So, hormone receptor complex bind to the hormone response element HRE, which is abbreviated with HRE in the DNA, which regulate the gene expression. I'll show the in the next figure how it is done. So, this is the hydrophilic and the lipophilic. So, what happened? The hormones it enters to the stream, and it come to the target organ, extracellular fluid. If it is a non-target, it will not act there. It will only see whether this hormone, if it is a find the receptor on the cell, then it will get activated. Otherwise, it is not activated, and this have a T half time, means they have a certain time period, and from that time, if it is they didn't find their target organ, so their activity will be lost. Okay, so for example, you can see in the here it is find their receptor, so it is a hydrophilic, that means it will not cross the cell membrane. So if you can appreciate here, the hormone has a receptor onto the membrane of the target cell, right? Whereas in the lipophilic, the same thing happen. They has a receptor into the nucleus or into the cytoplasm. Then how it is activated? So how it from the bloodstream? This is a cell membrane, so it will enter, and they find this is a thyroid. Is a steroids is lipophilic hormone. So how it can easily cross the membrane either by diffusion or either by some transporter. it require a transporter, or it can easily diffuse also. So they have, for example, it has a receptor in the cytoplasm, or it can has a in the nucleus. So what happens uh, when this hormone enter to the cell in the cytoplasm? It will bind to the HRE, that is hormone receptor element, response element. So this will bind to that, and when it bind to HRE, that HRE get activated, and when it get activated, it can travel into the nucleus, and there it can have act as a transcriptional factor, and due to transcription it will make mRNA, and mRNA will be released, and whether it has to synthesize a protein or some other inhibitory response they have to do, it will the response will show like that. Okay, or it can directly enter to the gene nucleus, and there it can show their activity by it can bind their receptor maybe in the nucleus, and it will bind to the nucleus, and their transcriptionally they will active there itself. Okay, so this is a little about how the hormone is function, or hormone as uh, do their function, how they transport, how this. Let's see about how thyroid hormones, how they synthesize, how they do function. So this is the thyroid gland. You can see this is a parathyroid gland, the four in yellow color, and this is the anatomical part. You may must learn this in the anatomy classes. So I'm not going into details, but you must know that it is behind the trachea. So trachea is behind to the your thyroid gland, and it's very important. So suppose there is any compression of the thyroid gland due to a tumor or something, so there will be a this is chance of breathing difficulties will be there. So thyroid gland histology. So you can see this is a artery, a capillary. It is cross sectional area of thyroid gland. So and this is a membrane. This is a follicular cell, and this is a colloid. Okay, this is the epithelial, or we can say epithelial or cuboidal cell. We, and it is in between. It is the cavity. This is called follicular cavity, which is a name. It is a colloid, where in this area the T3 and T4 is stored. Okay, so how it's look like, in the picture. So you can see thyroglobin stored in the colloid of follicles, and thyroid and cuboidal cells, how it's look like in the picture. So thyroid hormones, they are biological active thyroid hormones. So T4 and T3, there is a tetraiodothyronine and triiodothyronine. The only difference is the amount of iodine. In T4 they have 4 iodine, whereas in T3 there's a 3 iodine. Okay, attached to that. And which is more potent, T4 or T3? T3 is more potent. So 98% you find a T4, whereas 1 or 2% is in that 1 or 2% is will be T3, and T3 is basically the active form. So how T3 and T4 get synthesized? So see these pictures very carefully. Okay, this is the cell. This is the cell, and this is the follicular cavity. That means colloid, and this is the epithelium. And this one is a capillary, where the iodine from the diet, or from the iodine is absorbed and come to the cell. So iodine is on the stream. It get enter to the epithelium, squamous epithelium, through a TSH sensitive iron pump, where it is pumped into the cells, okay, in the squamous cell, and after that it get diffused there, and iodine is taken up by the uh, taken up into the colloid. In colloid, there is already thyroglobulin. From where the thyroglobulin has come, it is synthesized in the in the cytoplasm by the Golgi apparatus and transported to the in the colloid space. So the thyroglobin and this iron and tyrosine. Tyrosine also synthesizes on the Golgi apparatus, and it comes to the colloid. So these three, they will combine there, and they will form a T3 and T4. Okay. After that, they get endocytosis and to the squamous epithelium, and here this is get it is in the form of vesicle, and due to this in this vesicle you will find the T3 and T4. So this vesicle will be digested by the lysosomes, and T3 and T4 will be released, and this T3 T4 will diffuse to the peripheral tissues and in the stream also. So from there it will release into the bloodstream. So I hope you understood the mechanism for this. So if you don't, just if you wanted to repeat me again, just text me, then I'll repeat it again. If you don't understood that. Okay, I think nobody has a response. So you understood. I hope you understood that, because this is important. The how the because according to that the function or drug is used. Okay, so we'll moving to the next slide. So how it release thyroid? So uh, thyroglobin releasing hormone. It is synthesized from the hypothalamus, and this will come to the anterior pituitary, where it init- uh, give a positive feed forward reaction to the anterior pituitary, which will release your TSH from the anterior pituitary, and from TSH, this TSH will travel to the thyroid gland, where it